Hello and welcome to this video tutorial where we are going to introduce ourselves to the Visual Basic Editor. Now this is something we have seen a couple of times already, but we've not took the time to have a look around it as yet. We've always dived straight into our code. Also, the way we've got it to appear so far has been to go through editing our macros, which is not a terrible thing, but typically there is a quicker way of getting to it. And that quicker way is to go to the Developer tab and the Visual Basic button that you see on the far left. As I hover over that button, it also tells me that the keyboard shortcut of holding down Alt and pressing F11 would also open that editor. And that is the way that I would tend to work. Alt and F11 to quickly switch to the Visual Basic editor. As I'm on it, I'm going to click that Visual Basic button, and this is the editor. So along the top it still looks quite old school, you know, the old optionals of versions of Office where you have your menu bars to access various tools, and you've got the toolbar below it with various tools. The middle area is blank at the moment, and on the left hand side we've got two different windows. The first one is known as the Project Explorer, and the second one is our Properties window. Now when you go into the editor, you may not see them there by default. You typically would, they would be there straight away, but I cannot guarantee what you or somebody else may have done in the past on that machine or laptop or whatever you are using. If they do not appear there, we can get access to these from the View menu on at the top of our screen. So I'm going to see the Project Explorer here and the Properties window. They are the two windows that we can see on the left of my screen right now. Some of the options directly above that, such as the Locals window, there will be other stuff that we'll see throughout this course. Personally a big fan of the Locals window, so that will definitely get some coverage. And also things like code and objects at the top there as well. Looking at the windows we have, this Project Explorer as they call it, I can see I've got two projects. I have Book 2, which is the file open at the moment in my version of Excel. You would see all the files that you have open there if you have more than one. I can also see personal.xlsb, which is that hidden workbook, the personal macro workbook, where I could store macros so that they're globally available to me for any file. Once again, you may not see that yourself. If you've not used it before, it would not have been activated. More on that later on. But I've got two projects as they are known. Within the file I've got open, it shows me 3 sheets and then the book. So however many sheets you've got open, and they'll have their name there, and the book itself. These are different objects, different things that we can access and write code to them or use their events, this kind of stuff. If I double click on any of them objects, such as this workbook, it would open up a code window on the right for that object, so I can start to write code for it. I can see, I just double clicked on it so I know this, but right at the top of our screen I can see it says this workbook code. Handy that, because all your code windows will look the same. So it's good at the top that we can reference what object or what module am I in, what code is this. So for example, if I double click on sheet 1, I get another code window. Along the top I can see this is the code window for sheet 1. I can double click on this workbook and I'm back to there. In the top right of this screen you do get your normal kind of minimize and restore buttons that you'll be familiar with. Personally, just double clicking will get you between these windows. You may decide to close one down at some point with the X, but personally I never bother with minimizing and stuff. We can just switch between them by double clicking. Now although I mentioned writing our code in here, and at some point in this course we will, because we'll be covering a topic called events, and that is when we're going to look at adding code to sheets and to books. If you're not running your code off a worksheet event, such as somebody moving a sheet, or to a workbook event, like somebody opening a workbook or saving a workbook, then what you should be doing is adding your code to a module. That is where Excel put our recorded code from earlier, it put it into a module. At the moment I don't see any modules on the left hand side. What I'll need to do is go to the insert menu and into module from there. And as I click module, I get this modules folder and the module itself appear. And this code window now, I can see at the top of the screen, is relating to that module, module 1. So you can create as many modules as you like, you can rename them, and you can add as many macros to them as you like. Just think of these modules as a storage container for your macros. In the same way that you probably create folders to store your emails, there's no need for you to do that whatsoever. The only reason you do that is so that you can organize them better, you can find your email within the relevant folders and so on. How many folders you create, what you call them, is completely up to you. The same idea here. I could put 20 macros all in one module. I could, put a different macro in a different module. However I decide to organize them for me or my team's benefit. Now the window below that Project Explorer is the properties window. There's not too much to say about that just yet. The only thing they're really showing in there for module 1 is the ability to rename that module as mentioned. That will come up the main area later, being when we start looking at user forms, and we'll be naming controls and playing around with a lot more of the settings that you get in there. You get a lot more properties. For now it's not offering us too much, but we'll see that as I do click on other objects I will get different properties for them. So that will be contextual depending on what object we have selected at any given point. Or be able to modify some of its properties. So for now, that is all we're going to cover, talking about this Visual Basic Editor. This is an introduction to it. If I click the X in the very top right hand corner of this editor, it will close it back down and take me back to my Excel screen. So that VBE, or that Visual Basic Editor, is a separate window entirely to Excel. It uses Excel to run, but it's a separate window. So when I click Visual Basic, it opens up. I can close it down fully and I'm back to my spreadsheet. Or indeed I can click Visual Basic to open it up. I can use my taskbar at the bottom, or look at things like minimizing and stuff to get to my spreadsheet. And I can always use things like Alt and F11 to switch back to it. It's a quick way of getting back there. And we're back into our editor.